Hi, everyone, and welcome to another A and B Horror Movies video. I'm Aaron,
I'm Ben.
and today we are very happy to be joined by three legends of horror. We have Lee Waddell, William Perry, and Alan Robinson. Thank you guys for joining us.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Great to be here.
Very happy to have you. It was a little bit of a challenge getting the schedule set up, but we are all here and ready to go. So let's see, Lee, why don't I start with you? You are a stunt coordinator. You were a stunt performer. You're also an actor. What other hats do you wear?
A little bit of photographer. I still like getting behind the camera, shooting stills. That's always fun. And
Very cool.
Yeah.
And you've been involved with some movies that some of our viewers may be familiar with. We've got Scream 1 and Scream 2. You were the OG Ghostface. We've got Shocker, Blade, The Terminator, Bad Dreams, The People Under the Stairs, X-Men First Class, A Nightmare on Elm Street, The Lady in the Water, and Batman Returns, just to name a few. So very, very impressive.
thank you. Thanks. Yeah, that's a couple of them.
A couple of them, yes, yes. I
All
was going
straight to video.
Yeah, he's
Straight to video.
definitely a legend.
never heard from
Definitely
him.
a legend.
All right, let's move on to William Perry. Thank you for being with us. You're also a stuntman and actor, and you're an author. You wrote the book By His Hand, which is a murder mystery told in the form of a police report, which sounds very interesting, and we'll ask you about that in a moment. Some of the movies you were involved with are, I'm going to read from my notes, The People Under the Stairs, The Lost Boys, Predator 2, A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, nope, A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, 4, and 6, Freddy's Dead, awesome. Elvira, Return of the Living Dead 2, and Monster Squad, which is one of my favorite movies. Welcome,
Nice.
happy to have you on today.
Thank you. Good to be here.
This is going to be
Oh,
fun.
sick.
Yes, and lastly, last but not least, I should say, Alan, you are also a stuntman and actor, another legend. You've been in The Walking Dead, Scream. I understand that you were the one that had the TV smashed over your head, which we'll come back to.
That's correct.
That's correct.
That's correct.
Scream 2, Spider-Man 2, Legion, Captain America, The First Avenger, Jeepers Creepers 2, Batman Forever, Psycho 4, which I didn't expect to see, Forrest Gump, the TV show Grimm, and Sons of Anarchy. So very, very impressive. All three of you, your resumes are amazing.
And hardly ever embellished.
Yes, hardly ever. Well, welcome. This is going to be fun. So Ben, why don't I turn it over to you for the first question?
Yep. This is to all three of you, and I will start with William first. So I'd just like to know, as far as stunts go, have you ever had a stunt where you've been sort of not too keen on it? Maybe it's a little bit too, or have you're not bothered by really what you've got to do?
I was put in a clothes dryer one time for a show, and it doesn't sound so bad. It was, it was an industrial clothes dryer, and it's the only movie I ever got hurt on, and I got a concussion, and I still can't do any sort of I can't do somersaults anymore, cartwheels, anything. That thing messed me up. So yeah, kids, don't get in the dryer.
They
No
turned
matter
it
how
on,
much fun.
turned it on while you were in it? And did you
Oh,
know
yeah,
that
yeah.
you knew that was
I did.
coming? Wow.
I knew it was coming, and we did it for a minute each time. And so think of getting on the ground and doing 60 consecutive somersaults, get up, throw up, and then climb back in again. So yeah, not keen, as you said, to do that one ever again in my life.
Hey, was it on permanent press?
Yes, he's got a dry sense of humor.
Oh, look at
I'll tumble
That's
for
good.
you, I tell you.
Alan. Would you like to go next? Is there a stunt that you wasn't too keen on?
I always turn it around, and when it's gets a little sketchy, I always try to find a way I'm comfortable with it and make it work. That's a good question, because a lot of them come up, but I can't think of one particularly right offhand that sent me tumbling on permanent press cycle. But there's some that you just know you're gonna do, and it's gonna smart you. It's gonna spank you as long as it doesn't hurt you too hard. That's what we signed up for.
Go for
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Lee,
Yeah.
like you have one you might want to say about?
Yeah, I'm sitting here thinking, because Alan's right. I mean, we did way, this is ancient history. I did a series was called Stunt Masters. I think it was done in the 80s.
Mm.
And I took a motorcycle on a bungee off a bridge. I don't know how many hundreds of feet it was. It's 300-400 feet. And testing was terrible. That's the reason we test. And the test was just a disaster. And after the test, there's like, ain't no way I'm doing that. We went back and did it again and got all the bugs worked out. But the test, I mean, we broke bungees, we broke accelerometers, we broke dummies. I mean, it was just a train wreck. And I'm like, there's no, and we were supposed to shoot it the next day. And I'm like, nah, I'm not going to do that.
It's not
So
happening.
I went back to the drawing board, got it all worked out. And I went and did the stunt. And it was like, well, we tested it again. It worked. And here we go. So let's find out. I'll be the crash test dummy. It was a great stunt. I love doing it. But yeah, that first go around after testing was not real positive. Confidence level was not high. Let me put it that way.
Yeah.
Safety first. That was a great question, Ben. I'll go next. The question that I have is, how did you all get into the industry and doing stunts? And perhaps what advice would you have for someone up and coming who might want to follow in your footsteps? So Lee, maybe we'll keep it with you.
So after I got out of high school, I was either going to go in the military or I was going to do stunts because I was on adrenaline by that point. And I think the film industry took precedence only because of the paycheck. And, back in the day, it's still true today, it's just a flat out hustle. You got to get on the sets to meet the guys and just hustle your way in. And it still holds true to today. It still holds true. You got to hustle. That's just like any kind of business. I mean, you're going to get into it, what you put into it. And,
Sure.
you go out
Who
and
you
maybe
know,
hit
and-
one or two
right.
sets a week as compared to like every day, and hitting the same guy for 2 months straight, every other day. And then maybe he'll give you a shot at it. And so it's a hustle. It's hard. I was a 10-year overnight sensation. That's about how many years I put in before I started getting on big shows and really hitting my stride. And then once I hit, I was up on top of the game for quite a number of years. So
Awesome.
it's a tough
Nice.
racket. You better be able to work and you better have some talent.
Good answer. Alan, how about you?
Well, interesting enough, I got started by answering an ad in the paper. And it read, "Stuntman wanted, will train." And this is 1985, and it was to do a summer live show as a gunfighter at a theme park, getting shot off a balcony 14 times a day and doing a little
Wow.
hitch and post fall and
That's
fight. And I got paid $200 per week, doing all this. And I go, this is great. I'm in entertainment. And that's how I got started. Then moved down to Orlando, worked for Disney for a bunch of years, did a bunch of their live shows, and slowly kind of realized, man, film and television is where it's at. I mean, that's you make a lot more money and don't have to do it 14 times, hopefully.
just
But
once. Maybe just
yeah,
once.
well, no, yeah, but it's but at least you're compensated for it. So interesting enough, I got started in live shows, and it was a good training ground because you're really honing your skills over and over again. And I'm glad I got humbly started and doing it that way, and then slowly meeting people like Lee. And meeting other accomplished stunt people and kind of show you the ropes in the film industry, and you just have to work hard. And for young guys, it's not something you try, it's something that you're going to do, and you're going to make a career out of it, because it goes up and down like a roller coaster. You may not work very much at first and you're like, well, this isn't working out, but You have to just have the endurance and it's really got to be an internal drive to be able to, do it as a career. And then if you're fortunate with a lot of things, can go right, with meeting the right people, have the right talent and just luck, you have a good chance of making it.
Cool. Awesome. Good answer. William, how about you?
Mine's kind of almost the reverse of these two guys. Lee was actually very incidental in getting me work, but I'm only 5'6" tall. Back in the day, I weighed about 125 pounds sopping wet. And Tony Caesar, who's a friend of all of ours, was working with Wes Craven back in the day. And he said, "Hey, I need a kid. He's 5'6". He's got brown hair, brown eyes, little baby face, just like you. Would you want to work on this?" And I said, "Why me?" And he's like, you got little girly arms, just like the kid. And we need somebody skinny that doesn't look like an ex-gymnast. Because all the other stunt guys that were my height were usually ex-gymnasts.
Oh, they're like
Guys with big
muscular. Yeah. Okay.
biceps.
Okay.
Yeah, big bulk. And I didn't have any of that. And so Lee called me one day and said, "Hey, Tony Caesar wants you to work. You want to get a job?" And I had just gotten into the union like that week. And sure enough, I jumped in and I would call guys like Alan and guys like Lee and go, "Hey, I'm supposed to do something on Wednesday. And what are you going to do?" "I think they're going to light me on fire or a dog attack. What do I do?" And we'd get together over the weekend, show me the next thing to do. Because I wanted
amazing.
to be an actor. Yeah, I wanted to be an actor, and that was really my game. But as I got into it, they'd say, "You're just too damn short, all the girls are 5'9", 5'10", and it just isn't going to work." But the advantage for me in being a little guy was there wasn't 1,000 little guys. Lee and Alan are probably roughly the same height, or within an inch or two of each other, and there was a lot of guys like that, 5'10" to 6 foot, 180 pounds, where there was maybe 5 or 6 guys 5'6", 125 pounds. So there was a lot of workout in the 80s because they were slasher films, shooting constantly, so much so that there were times where the other 5 guys were all working. So we were just kind of getting bounced around between different shows. So
Awesome.
I gotta say, it's easy. Do it. It's fun. No, it's not. It's a total lie. And in fact, when people do ask me, my kid really wants to get into stunts, or I really want to get into stunts, first thing I tell them is there anything else that would make you happy? Anything at all that would make you even close to as happy? Do that. Because this, as Alan said, this isn't something you try. It is a lifestyle in a way that when I left the stunt business, the rest of the world is so much easier. The rest of the world just do what I asked you to do. Not 140%, not 105%. Just do the thing I asked you to do and you'll be a rock star. And
Yes.
in stunts, it's just not that way. 2 o'clock in the morning, you've got your bag in your car with your pictures, your resumes, maybe even your pads, and you're out hustling. You see a set, you pull over, and your wife's like, "But what are we doing? Aren't we going home?" 15 minutes, honey, 15 minutes.
I'll be right back.
2 hours. Yeah, 2 hours later, you come back to the car, she's, eating stuff out of the ashtray because you've left her for so long. I should unlock the door. But it's such a lifestyle.
That's awesome. Yeah.
That you really have to be so committed to it that really, I know very few people that have that kind of insane drive and interest and absolute obsession with doing it.
Have to be
Eating out of the ashtray.
Well, yeah, I left some Mentos in there,
Okay.
Makes sense to me. Just
I
brush
don't
it
know what
off a
I'm
little
saying.
bit.
The medications clicked in. I'm saying all sorts of
There you go. There you go. Well, I've never met you in person, so for what it's worth, on Zoom, you could be 6 feet tall.
Yes. I'm
There you
very
go.
long
We're all-
torso.
We're all the same height.
Yeah.
Great answers, guys. Ben, over to you. What's up next?
This is to all 3 of you again, but we'll start with you again, William. Have you got a favourite stunt per se? Not obviously, it doesn't have to be you, but if you've got a favourite stunt in a horror movie that you sort of pick and
I would say all of my favorite stunts are me.
Good answer.
There was a movie called License to Drive, and it was the first stunt that really made me think I could die doing this. And I'm trying to escape from a school bus in a dream sequence, and the kid just freaks out and he just dives out the back window, and he has to I have to kind of do a flip in the air and then land on a follow vehicle where there are cameras and some other people. And I just remember thinking at the end, if I don't do this right, I'm going to get run over. And when it was all said and done, the stunt coordinator says, well, how much do you want? And I had done it twice, and I was like, I don't know. I really hasn't thought about what it was worth. And I was like, $500? And he's like, no, it's $1,500 each. I'm like, oh, okay. You know, and later I realized I had just said that my life was worth $500.
$500.
Oh,
Oh my gosh.
I got marked down. You know? So yeah, so I mean, but it's my favorite one to see. When I see it on film, it's right in the opening of the film, and I'm really proud of the way it came out. It looks good.
Oh, cool. Alan?
Well, other than the really fun, iconic kills as Ghostface and Scream 2, I'd have to say probably Psycho 4, because I was a younger stunt guy, and doubling Anthony Perkins, I mean, iconic Norman Bates, it was just really cool. But the big stunt I had to do on that was the house is on fire, and I'm inside, and I have to walk backwards up the staircase. And when I'm about 6 feet high, I react to seeing Mother at the front door in front of me, and I fall to my side and crash through the banister and fall 6 feet to a hardwood floor. And and you crash through the banister and you hit the floor. Well, the stunt coordinator said, I don't want to see you put your hand down. I don't want to see anything, because your natural instinct when you're falling, 6 feet to something hard is, you want to put your arm behind you and kind of ease the fall. So it's a big flat back, as we call it, to a hardwood floor. And I was worried about landing on chunks of the banister, like in small of my back. And it was pretty gnarly. And I did it, and I literally bounced a foot off the floor. So you look at it, you look at the take, and I hit the floor and bounce up a foot. And fortunately, we only did it once. And I didn't put a hand down. I nailed it, but I was new, so I guess I got lucky. But it was a cool, iconic, stunt in a horror film. It's all this, the house on fire. You're doubling Norman Bates, and you do this big stunt. The house is full of smoke, and it's just the tension on the set. It was something I'll never forget, and it paid really good for back then too. And I was like, wow, I'll do more of these. You want me to hit the ground again? You want me to do it again? When you see how much they're going to give you, you're like, I think I could muster
do it a few more times.
Yeah. We learn not to turn things down. It's like, you want another, even though internally you're going, no, that knocked the bejeebies out of me, and I'll be okay going home now. But you don't say that. You say, would you like another?
I saw that scene today,
Awesome.
actually, on YouTube. So nice job. It looked really
cool.
great. It was
Thank
very
you.
authentic. Yeah, nice job.
Thank you.
Remember, guys, when we were all in the business and we'd be all wrung out after like getting hit by a train or something stupid, and you're all busted up and you're just like miserable, and the stunt coordinator would come up to you and go, well, you got another one in you? And I swear to God, it would be like this. You got another one in him? I'm like, yeah, I got one. Come on, let's do it, man. I'm good.
Yeah.
Come on, this is great. Let's go.
Yeah, this sounds like a great idea.
Yeah.
Just thinking car payment. I just need to make that car payment.
Yeah, of course.
Exactly.
Do you have a favorite stunt, Lee?
Yeah, there's two stunts as far as horror movie stunts. The most iconic, there was two of them that were pretty fun to do, pretty hairball, one of them. And I can't remember the name of the film. I think it was called Spontaneous Combustion. Bill was down there that night working safety for me. Tony Caesar was my setup man on the fire because he's fire legend. And we're down in Hollywood. It was a 4-story building, and I was supposed to go off the top. The character spontaneously catches on fire and runs off the top of this roof of this building. So, it's a fire burn. It's a high fall. It's at night. There's a lot of different elements that go really bad in a lot of different ways. And, but the director goes, yeah, I really want to see some good fire. So Tony, he got a little crazy on the fuel, and Bill was here. He could test. So when I went off, everything went off brilliantly. It was great. Hit my mark, came over the top, went off the side, hit the airbag. Everything was fantastic, super fun stunt. But the flame I was almost at the airbag as the end of the flame was coming off the top of the building. It was that big and that
Mm.
Oh my
Wow.
gosh.
Yeah, it looked like a
I
comet.
witnessed it. It's true.
Wow.
It's like 25 feet of flame.
Yeah, it was huge. It was by
Cool.
far the biggest amount of flame that I've had. And I've done a lot of burns, but that was the biggest amount of flame and fuel that I've ever had on me. And of course you're running, so all the heat and everything's coming off the back. But that one for a horror film was pretty epic. I love doing that one. And then the one
Nice.
that's iconic in the sense that everybody's seen is when I got eaten by the dinosaur in the Lost World out of the Jeep with the dinosaur. So that was pretty fun.
Mm.
Oh, that is
That's a good one.
yeah, that's awesome.
That's cool. Well, since our channel is horror themed, I know you've all worked with Wes Craven to some extent or another. Can you each speak to what it was like working with him? Who
Please.
wants to go? What's
I'll
that?
take
Okay, go ahead, Lee.
So I worked with Wes from Nightmare 1 all the way through Scream 2, with the exception of,
Wow.
I think there's only one film I didn't make, or maybe two at the most, but I did everything Wes did for all those, almost 2 decades or whatever it was. It was a good run. And,
Awesome.
So Wes
That's
was
great.
consummate pro, super funny, dry sense of humor. He would tell a joke on Monday on the set, and I'd laugh on Friday. It was that dry. Super fun guy.
It was still funny 5 days later, or it would take you 5 days to get
No,
it?
it just took him 5 days.
It was just me. Everybody else would laugh, and I'd have to go write it down and think about it. So
Oh,
it's just,
okay.
super intelligent. People don't, a lot of people don't realize or remember that, Wes used to be a professor, right? So he's very learned, very
Mhm.
articulate.
Mhm.
And I never, out of all the films that we did together, all the time I worked with him and I was around him, I never saw him blow his top. Never saw him get rattled. He was always cool.
Mm.
Might have gotten frustrated, and you could see it, but you would never hear it. Right.
Mm.
And,
That's nice.
learn a few tricks about directing along the way and whatnot. But yeah, I miss his presence. He was greatly
Mm.
underestimated and underappreciated when he was alive.
Mm.
Yeah,
Cool.
that's a
Go,
great
Alan.
answer. Good.
Well, a story about Wes, the first time I worked with him on Scream 1, Doubling Stew, at the end there's a chase, and I was chased down a hallway over a sofa, and there's feathers flying, there's blood everywhere, and there's a vase gets cracked over my head, and then eventually, you may have seen, then there's a TV shoved off, and this TV falls over my head, and I get electrocuted. So doing that, I'm covered with blood, fake blood, feathers, and Wes gave me the direction. He was just so calm. I mean, it was just so easy to work with because he knew what he wanted. And so I get the TV crashed over my head. It's done, cut. And I get up and he's like, and I hadn't really officially met him before we did the stunt. And afterwards, he comes over to grab my hand and give me a hug, because he liked the way it went, and I backed off, and I didn't want to shake his hand or touch him because I'm covered with this sticky blood and all these feathers. I'm like, I can't get the director bloody. And it hit me at that moment. I'm like, wait a minute, this is Wes Craven. I mean, he's no stranger to blood on the scene, and and
Bring it
it
in.
was like, yeah, it was like a light switch. And but I just remember going, I can't shake the director's hand and give him a hug. I got blood all over me. And then it just instantly was like, no, this is cool. This is what he does. And he was so kind. He was so kind. But I'll never forget that moment.
Oh, that's amazing. That's a good story.
Yeah.
I had actually had a chance to work with Wes on 3 different movies. And then years later, I decided to get out of the stunt business. I was just getting a little old, hit the ground too hard anymore. And I went into web development, and I ended up doing Wes's website. Tony Caesar, I mentioned earlier, said, hey, Wes is looking for a web guy, but he doesn't want somebody who's an actor that's trying to use this to get a job. So he said, so don't mention, that you are an actor. And I thought, well, I've worked with him 3 times. And so I went to his house to meet him. He had no memory of me at all.
Oh gosh.
That's quite an impression I've left. But he was a super, super sweet guy. And I got to have lots of conversations with him because I would talk to him about what was going on in his professional life and his life for the website. And then I would write as if I was Wes writing. So I got a chance to, listen to him, talk about what he wants to talk about. And just a really, as everybody says, very chill guy, very funny, so funny. But you kind of, he was one of those guys who had a very serious look about him much of the time, usually a little smile, but just because of how his presence, you were afraid to laugh at something that might not have been a joke. Like Lee said, you waited till Friday to laugh because was it okay to laugh at that? Because that was very funny, but I don't want to piss him off by laughing at him if that wasn't his intent. But a very bright guy, very, very super smart. He wrote books. He wanted to be in other kinds of films too. He didn't want to be known as just a horror guy. So he worked with Meryl Streep. He did some really great work. He did a lot of episodic television that normally people don't think about, but very industrious, hardworking, but always, like Lee said, you couldn't rattle the guy. I mean, if you did, you never knew you did. He just seemed like he was having the time of his life when he was working, and he really threw himself into it and really enjoyed it when he was doing it. Because most filming is 6-8 weeks, but there's maybe a year or 2 of prep. So when you actually get to do the part that you like, the movie making, he just really threw himself into it and really seemed to enjoy every second as much as any of the rest of us.
Excellent. Very good answers, all of you. That was really nice to hear. Ben, if I could just stay here for a moment. William, before we forget, can you talk a little bit about your book, By His Hand, so we don't forget? I wanted you to say a few things about it.
Yeah, book's called, as you said, By His Hand. It's it's sort of a murder mystery. It's very personal. People who know me read it and go, wait, is this you? And I go, yeah, except for the murdery stuff. But it's very, it's pretty graphic. It kind of screwed up all the people I know in it, all my friends, because these are real people, real family, real folks. And it began as a nightmare, a really, really serious nightmare that I remembered in great detail. And so I just wrote it. And I do audiobooks for a publisher in England. And I sent him a idea, and he said, this is the scariest thing I've read in a very long time.
Wow.
And I thought, well, that's a good thing because he reads a lot of horror. And so he said he was going to write it. And after about a month, he hadn't started. So I said, I'm not a writer, but let's give it a try. And came out pretty well. I mean, I'm really proud of the work. I love, when I find out people are reading it. It's in all the bookstores, Amazon and all that, but it's also on an app called Chilling. If you haven't heard of Chilling, it's like Spotify for scary stories.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
Download it. It's amazing. And not just because I'm on it, chiefly because I'm on it, but also still good. But there's just, I mean, so many great and talented writers. It's a cool app because it's also got like you can put music to it and have it, you know, and it's read to you. But it's another place you can get it. And if you wanted to go and listen to it for free, go listen to it on Chilling, or you can get it on Spotify or any of the bookstores. But
Awesome.
I hope people like it. It was pretty hard to write, and you'll understand if you read it. There's a lot of very emotional, very sad, screwed up things, things that are people don't want to know about Bill. They think Bill's fun. Bill's dark. You know. In this,
I'm sold. I'm sold. Count me in. Very cool.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
I'll
check it out.
I'll send you a link.
Yeah, please do. Please do.
Yeah, I hope you enjoy it.
All right, Ben,
Thanks
over
for
to
letting me
you.
talk about it.
Yeah, of
Appreciate it.
course, of course.
Again, no question. To all three of you. I'll start with William again. Who is how can I put this? Have you ever met anyone on set that you was really like, wow, overly taken away with, or
Starstruck.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got two of those that I'm not proud of. Because usually when you define starstruck, it means I just you know, I got completely stupid. Tim Curry. We were working
Oh,
on Home
yeah.
Alone 2, and there he is, you know, and he's fallen on some ill health lately,
Mhm.
but this was
Mhm.
back when he was young and, you know, vibrant. And I saw him and I went, oh my God. And I'm doing a scene with him and I'm so excited. And I go over and I said, hi, Mr. Curry, my name's Bill. And gosh, I'm, you know, been a fan for so long. And oh gosh, all my friends would be just, you know, I can't believe I'm going to tell him I met Tim Curry. He's like, thank you. I gave him nothing. I gave him nothing to talk about. He was just like, I'll say hello to your friends, ta-ta, you know. And I remember afterward just going, you stupid, lame. Ugh. And but it was such a big deal to me. I mean, I watched Rocky Horror and Hunt for Red October and all. I mean, Rocky Horror I've probably seen 200 times.
Oh,
You know, they
sure.
show it in film, you know, in the little places at midnight, you know, back in those days. And
Mhm.
it was just a hero, you know, just an amazing actor. And there he was, right in person. And I just stepped on my tongue, just go. And every time I think about it, I go, oh, that is one of those moments that, like, when you're just in a little spiral of all the stupid things I've done in my life, bam, right on top, ooh, right on down.
Sounds like you nailed it.
Yeah, I know Lee's. Go to Lee.
Now go to Alan first. Let's save the worst for last.
Alan?
Yeah, I think mine was the time I met Lee Waddell.
You're speechless.
Yeah.
Gosh, you know, you know, one comes to mind that, you know, because like Bill was saying that, you know, you kind of like you fumble your words when you start getting a little bit flustered on, you know, the excitement of like, oh my gosh. Probably was I was working on the movie Sully, and it's Dublin Tom Hanks, and Clint Eastwood was the director. Clint Eastwood to me was like iconic because I used to emulate him when I was doing those live gunfighter shows when I got started in the business, because I was kind of tall and slim and I would do a scowl and I, you know, kind of tried to talk like him, and, you know, and so I'm meeting him for the first time on a ferry boat in the Hudson River, right where actually Sully did land aircraft in New York. And I'm meeting him, and it's just him and I and another stunt girl. And he's asking me about, you know, my experience in this and working with Tom and all this, and I doubled this and doubled that, and he goes, "Have you ever doubled me?" And I was so flustered by that. I'm like, because I know he wasn't serious, because his stunt doubles are his age, and I know those guys are legends, and I'm just this guy. And he goes, "Have you ever doubled me?" I was like, "Oh, no, sir." And I was just flustered by it, because I was like, that would have been a perfect segue to go, "No, but I used to emulate you and copy you when I was getting started in the business way back."
Mhm.
And conversation ended, and afterwards I was like, gosh darn it, now I had more work on the movie, but I don't know if I'd ever have another one-on-one time with Clint.
Mm.
Well, a few weeks go by, now we're back in LA and we're shooting some other scenes and we're in the aircraft mock-up and I just found that perfect time. It was the two of us. And so I got to share the story, how I got started in the business, emulating him. And, he thought that was kind of cool, but it gave me some relief to be able to tell him the story. But the story goes a little further because, so now cut to a couple years after that film, I get a call from a stunt coordinator. It says, "Hey, I think you would, I'm doing this film with Clint Eastwood, and I think you'd make a good double for him."
Oh,
I said, well, Clint thinks I would, and I got the job.
Oh, that is very cool.
Yeah. So I doubled him in a movie called The Mule. And
I feel even
Oh,
better about
yeah.
my story.
Wow.
we're not supposed to mention. Yeah, we're not supposed to mention titles of movies or anything. So, yeah. So
I'm very impressed by that. Clint
Please.
Eastwood.
Yeah,
Yeah, I feel better about my story now. Thanks, Alan.
Yeah. All right, moving on.
yeah, moving on.
Go for it, Lee. That was great.
All right, so Scream 1. This is the only time in my career that I fanboyed out and just geeked. And so it's the scene where I got to kill Henry Winkler, right?
Oh man, fun.
And first time I ever met him was on the set when we're actually ready to do the scene. And of course, Wes is there, Tony Caesar is there, the coordinator, and here's Henry Winkler. And I grew up on Happy Days, right? Back in that time, you got to remember Henry Winkler back in that, when he was on top of the game, that Happy Days went 10, 11, 12 years, right? And he was on top, highest paid dude, the whole bit. And here I am getting ready to do a scene with the Fonz. And so, Henry's not a very big guy, and so I'm supposed to stab him, right, and it cut him like a fish, so to speak. And we're getting ready to do this scene. I'm like, God, I'm gonna kill the Fonz, man. I can't, I'm like, and the guys will know that, like, when you do a fight, a lot of times, especially with stunt guys, you can bring some energy to it, and it helps make a better fight. It makes a better scene because you have energy into it. I didn't want to really hurt
him.
I wasn't going to just gaff him, right? And so, like, the first take was just abysmal. I mean, I just like, I don't want to hurt you, right? And so I'm like, cut. And we did it twice more, man. And then finally, he goes, Lee, come here. I'm like, yes, sir. And he goes, dude, you got to give me some energy. I'm like, okay, well, and he starts getting in my head and he starts badgering me and he starts poking me, right? And just getting into character as the principal, and I get into the character as Ghostface, and he starts just freaking needling me, right? And just getting into my head and talking to me like the principal would to a student, and just going, you got to give me something. He starts popping me, getting physical, and I'm like, you little runt. And then I'm like, so on take 3, finally, I come out of the gate on him and I gave him what he needed to get the energy, to make the scene happen. Yeah, but first take or two, I was just afraid I was going to break him in half, or the knife wouldn't retract, because that was an old, those special effects knives. Sometimes they worked, a lot of times they worked, but every once in a while they didn't. And I was a little bit cautious of that, and I didn't want to. So I was just geeking out. On top of that was the Fonz, man. I grew up on this guy.
Oh, of course, yeah. The Fonz, right?
Yeah, exactly. And
Well,
it was just comedy, and we both had a good laugh on it later because we were talking about it. But he was such a great. He taught me a lot about acting at that point, right? And about the energy, and giving the actor, something to go off of.
And the ultimate scene is, the ultimate scene is amazing. You come out hard, right? It's pretty intense. The final product. So
yeah, you didn't want to see the outtakes.
okay. Well, the final product looks amazing. Ben and I have so many other questions, but for the sake of time, we should probably get into some of the viewer questions that we have. Let's see. Ben, why don't I go first? This one is from Miguel at Darth Miguel 89 on Instagram. So for Lee and William, what were the vibes like in People Under the Stairs? The movie was very creepy and gave me chills. Did people have to set the vibe first to get that to portray on screen?
For Bill.
My big scenes in that are right at the climax of the film, where Wendy Roby gets done in towards the end there. And I remember, it was funny because the makeup I'm wearing, I have no vision at all. And so they're basically walking me around the place and saying, please don't hurt anyone, please don't stab anyone, please don't bite anyone. And again, it was Wes, and Wes loves mayhem. And so it was much more funny than it was dark or scary. Now, Wendy Roby's a great actress and it really has that kind of screw loose vibe about her in real life, just that odd kind of personality. And so really he just kind of let her go where she wanted to go with that. And the rest of the actors doing the people under the stairs, it was really just an attack, but I remember it being, like we're just bursting through these walls. And I remember thinking, why didn't they burst through the walls before? Apparently the place was, a piece of crap falling apart.
That's a very good point.
A fine question. Yeah. I guess maybe we just weren't motivated.
Yes.
But it was, like I say, I hate to say it, I hate to destroy Miguel's question, but at least for the scenes where I was there, it was typical Wes, very fun. He loved the mayhem side of it. He really, really wanted it to look violent. He really wanted it to look claustrophobic. You'll notice in a lot of the shots, camera's very, very close. So it really brings your whole field of view very, very narrow. And I think that's where the creepiness came from. Not so much from the vibe on set, but because of the eye that Wes had for both scary and claustrophobic and intense. And there's, an action very close to camera looks much faster than it might if it were a little farther away. So he really kept the action very, very close to camera. And I just remember it being, kind of fun. Yeah, sorry.
Cool. That's a good answer. That's great.
Yeah, that was a good answer, Bill. That's accurate too. My time on
Oh,
that
good.
set,
Thanks.
I was on it. It was fun. I mean, I remember being on the set on just about any and all of Wes's films, and we were always having fun. It was always, the sets always had a lightness to them. We were having a good time, even though we were doing serious stunts, right? But everything leading up to where we were prepping, give you an example, when we did the fire burn on Nightmare 1, right? Everything up to that time when we actually had a safety meeting and laid it all out, like, this is how it will go down. All the way up to that point, it's all lightheartedness, and then it's business, and then you do the stunt, and then you're off to the next setup. So, but Wes always had a fun set. I know it doesn't matter what film it was always light to me.
Great. Good answer. Ben, do you want to do Adam Sharp?
Yep. This is Adam Sharp music. He has asked, so I suppose this would be to all three of you, whoever wants to answer, all three of you. Do you have a workout plan? Sorry?
Alan could lead off on this one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Do you have a workout plan that helps reduce injuries?
Or did you, right? Maybe.
Oh, well, did you?
Or
I
do
think,
you, right.
or did you? Because I think when you're younger, when you're really working, once you start working and you're on your game, you got to be in shape, and you got to work out. You got to be strong, but you got to be flexible. So strong is really key, but flexible, because you may be tossed into some situation and your body bends sideways like a taco, and you can get hurt if you're stretched out, so I think, flexibility is good, but general fitness is good. We sometimes get we get a head start on what stunt it's going to be, where we can train beforehand. Sometimes it's the next day and we don't have any way to react to it, so you better be in shape. But sometimes you may have something special coming up and you go, you know, I'm going to start swimming more, or I'm going to start doing more pull-ups because I got this thing where I got to swing from bars or something. So, so general fitness is good, and flexibility is that's my final answer.
That works.
Call Lee for a
Back
lifeline.
back in the day, you know, if we weren't all working, like somebody would have, like Alan had a trampoline, and I mean a pro level trampoline, and like if nobody was working, we're like, hey, we're just gonna go bounce on the tramp on Saturday. So a bunch of us, I mean, there'd be 10, 20 guys around there, and we just go over to Alan's house and just do trampoline work and flips and turns and just have a good old time doing it. And you know, you work a trampoline for an hour, 2 hours, and you got a full body workout in, right? And if you
Oh,
keeps
sure.
your air sensitive. So just by the sheer fact that we all got together and played on the trampoline and threw flips and tricks and kept our air senses up and got the workout in, we used to do that all the time. Because then maybe the next week we'd go, hey, let's go climb rocks. Let's get some rappelling in, you know? So
Yeah.
in the middle of all that career and all the hustle, somebody was always doing something where you kind of rotated in and had some fun.
Yeah.
And stay active, it sounds like.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because one of the other things that people don't think about when they think about doing stunts, and I know the other guys will agree with this, but you may get there at 6 a.m., you get in makeup, you get in wardrobe, and then they shoot with you at 4 p.m. And so you're ready as much of that time as you can be. But when it comes to time to do the stunt, you get very little notice most times. So a big part of being fit and being ready was staying loose, being able to just sort of jump into action very, very quickly without a lot of warm up, because they're like, well, wait, you had 10 hours to warm up. Why are you not warmed up? It's like, because I just got told I was doing it 5 minutes ago. So I was in the martial arts quite a bit, and skateboarding and that sort of stuff. So a lot of stretching, as Alan said, because usually the injuries that you got a lot of times were muscle injuries, just from being forced into a position that ain't natural, as part of a landing or as part of hitting the ground or in a car or whatever. If you get thrown forward, you're going to get
Of
neck
course,
and
yeah.
back issue. So it was really that general overall thing. I couldn't think of any one thing to do. It's really, get yourself, if you really want to get involved in something like that, fighting stuff, boxing, martial arts, water skiing, horseback riding, all the stuff you do every day.
Of course. Awesome. Great answers. Let's see. Just for the sake of time, next up we have Fake Voorhees. He has a couple questions that we've already talked about, but he does have one for Alan, which I actually really liked. What are your thoughts on the fan theory about Stu surviving, since you're the one that took the TV hit?
Good.
Is that a good one?
Good question, but well, but in all seriousness, I didn't catch his name.
Oh, Fake
What was the
Voorhees.
guy's name?
It's Brian at Fake Voorhees.
Okay.
So Brian, great question. It can, that's what we love about movies. It can take you anywhere. It can take you unexpected places. So, I know that his character had a fight and a TV crashed over his head. That we know, and he kind of jolted around and kind of, went limp afterwards, but does that mean he's dead? So I love the fact that it can go either way. And,
Thank you, Senator, for the definitive answer.
That's a good answer.
and vote for me. Wait, no politics.
So it's a yes and no answer.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna put you on the spot. I'm gonna put you on the
So
spot.
Brian, great question.
What-
Great question.
Lean forward, Lee. You can't hear.
Yeah,
you.
lean for you.
So what did Wes say, Alan?
Well,
As if
I
we didn't
remember
know
him
that.
saying, you're getting electrocuted. I don't recall ever the words coming out and the TV crashes over your head and you die. I don't ever, in
There you
all
go.
seriousness, remember those words. Electrocution is what I remember. Now, doesn't mean you die from it. It may, we see
Okay.
Scream 2. I was doubling Mickey in the scene, and he thought he got shot and he was dead, and he came at the end, came back to life. So
And just to put a little fuel on that fire, you got to remember that when Dewey was stabbed, he originally was dead, right? He was supposed to be body bagged out, and the scene was shot like that. And then Wes came back and shot him still alive, and look where it
Yeah.
went. So
that's very good, Lee, because when we were shooting that, because I was Ghostface stabbing Dewey in the studio.
yes, I know. Thank you.
Well,
I didn't work
well-
that day. That's what he's trying to tell you.
Yeah, that's kind of
well, Lee was off doing some bigger film, I think. So
Yeah.
when they need the second team, I was available. But but I remember the feeling that I was killing him, because and then how it's edited and what they do after my day of work, I don't know where it's going to go. I don't know the big picture. I'm a stunt guy.
Big picture. I see what you did there. Right screen. Very nice.
That's a good
good
answer.
answer. Good
Yeah,
question.
yes, yeah, that was a
Yeah.
great one.
Great question.
Ben, can I do the next one and then you can do Sean at the end?
You can. Andy.
Because this is Tabitha from Tabby Crafts.
Oh,
I think she
Tabby
met you
Crafts.
guys
I
at
know her.
some of the conventions, and we have a bunch of her tumblers.
Yeah, great
Let's see.
stuff. One of our trusted vendors, so to speak. Good-
Absolutely.
Yes,
Great people.
I
Great
have
people.
some. I think I have 6 tumblers from them now. Let's see. And in fact, she said, since meeting Lee and Bill at CreepyCon, I haven't taken my original Ghostface bracket off. I would love to get a pink one though, whatever that means. Let's see. I have heard Bill's favorite horror movie, but what is Lee's? Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I will. I'll make sure I get her some of these. So two things is I do these for the Scream Nation for the fans. I only do 96 of these per day. So if it's a 2-day, there's only 96 a day. And
cool.
it's just a way for me to say thanks for being a fan of that genre and Scream. And they're starting to become quite little collector's items. So it's really cool to watch people trade them and fight over them and have a good time with them. So I will make sure I get her some additional copies, because when I say there's only 96 out, it's not like I get 500 made and there's only 96 gone. It's like if I have 3 days, I might order 300. So there's not a lot of inventory laying around, and plus I give them to the promoters too. So
So he's talking about the wristbands that he gets.
Yeah,
out.
I can see.
Said
Yeah.
bracelet is what she meant to say,
yeah,
not
I got
bracket.
a bunch of them on here. And then as for my
Oh,
favorite
right.
movies,
Typo. Okay.
favorite movie would be Creature of Black Lagoon.
Classic.
Classic black and white Universal monster.
Nice. Bill, what's your favorite movie? So she said she knows yours, but we don't know yours.
I'm sorry, do you talk to me?
Yes, Bill. Yeah, sorry.
Oh, sorry. American Werewolf in London.
Oh, that's
Oh,
good.
another classic.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
That one just great practical effects, but I didn't think about the practical effects when I was watching it. It sounded like the 40th watch you can finally actually watch, not be so engrossed in their performances that you can actually look at the special effects. But just a great, funny, scary.
It's got everything.
I look yeah, and I look like Griffin done enough to double him, don't I? What happened there?
Of course, yes.
But
Yeah.
it's one of those. Just
Alan was doubling him, Bill. Alan took it.
is that what it was? Yeah. Even though he's 6 inches too tall, he just stole that job the day I was busy
Yes,
Yeah,
Alan got it.
taking care of my sick mother or something. But no, yeah, American Werewolf in London is the one that just jumps out at me anytime I'm asked. It's like, yeah, gosh, I
No, it's
remember
a great
watching that
choice,
through
yeah.
my knees. Like, oh my god, that's so good.
Holds up well.
That's mine.
Alan, how about you? What's your favorite horror movie?
There's so many good ones out, and especially in the last 20, 30 years, it's such a big genre of them. And but I'm old school and I'm a Alfred Hitchcock fan. So I think growing up, like The Birds would
Nice.
probably on
Yes,
top of my
that's good.
list. And I
Yes.
did enjoy the original Psycho as well.
Mhm, mhm.
So Alfred Hitchcock was a master.
Yeah,
Okay.
Agreed.
I agree. And these guys know, you guys might not know, but Wes was a big Hitchcock student, so to speak. If you go back and watch how Wes directs, there's a lot of Hitchcock in his direction.
Yeah.
And he also did a lot of cameos, so did Hitchcock. And I think that's kind of
Yeah.
where Wes got that from, was to jump in, in front
Hmm.
of camera. So he was a Hitchcock guy, so was I. And so that's a good one. Birds was
The Birds
definitely
is
the Birds.
great,
I think
yeah.
messed me up more. Ultimately, though, the Flying Monkeys kind of did me not good. That didn't work out.
Are you
Flying
considering Wizard of Oz a horror film now?
Monkeys. It absolutely is. It was all fun and games until the monkey
You had
showed
a
up.
very, very
Yes.
challenged
That's yes.
childhood.
Hey, interesting fact. I got called to double the monkeys in that. And
You were too busy.
Yeah.
All right, Ben, do you want to do the last questions from Sean?
This is Sean from The Real Sean's Horror. And this is for Lee. The first question. He said, I know you probably get a ton about Scream. So can you tell us about your time on Batman Returns?
Yeah, that was a big show, and at the time, I think it was the biggest running show that was going on in Hollywood at that time. And I was brought in just to help on the rigging crew because the stunt coordinator and the rigging crew, those guys were actually living on the lot. That's how big and bad it was. They were working 18-hour days on the clock, 18-hour days, and they literally had RVs brought in for these guys to sleep on the set. So
Wow.
they brought me in to help them out, and it was really super fun to be on that show because it was the biggest and baddest. And I, got in front of the camera a couple of times, but yeah, I remember it vividly because it was that was a big league show with big stunts, and it had great texture to it, the way that the sets were made and designed, and shooting on the streets. And got a chance to work with Ted White, who was an absolute legend. As some of you guys know Ted White back in the day. He just left us not too long ago, and I've never been around. Ted White was such a legend, and he had such presence and he actually saved a scene one time as the Batmobile was coming around the corner, and we had guys ratcheting and cars ratcheting and a lot of elements, big stunt thing. And one of the it looked like this big water heater. It fell over like it was supposed to, but then it started rolling out into the street, and the Batmobile was going to hit it. So old Ted White, dressed as a cop with his cigar, doesn't miss a beat. He sticks his foot out there and just stops the thing and waves the freaking Batmobile through. I mean, just a stud. Even Tim Burton goes, the whole stud goes cut, and everybody applauds Ted White for pulling off this massive feat and saves the setup. Because it would have been a 2-hour setup, right? Huge, just taking forever to reset everything.
Wow.
And even Burton said something about it, and so everybody applauded him. It was such fun to watch him work and to be around him, and he was an absolute stud. I just loved being around him. It was such a fun time in my career back then.
Brilliant.
Excellent. Mhm.
The next question is for William. Can you tell us about your time on Monster Squad?
Monster Squad. Gosh, that is
Love
really
that
going.
movie. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a real fan favorite. There was a lot of kids on the show, and so it was kind of one of those things. If they didn't have enough stunt guys to go around, you just change clothes, and the kids weren't allowed to do any of their own stunts back then. I don't know if you remember, but back roughly around this time, there was an accident on John Landis's Twilight Zone, and an actor and a child.
Yes, the helicopter. Yes.
Yeah. And so
Very
after
sad.
that, kids weren't allowed to do anything. And I mean, I did cartwheels for a kid, something just very, very simple. They didn't want to let anybody get hurt. And there wasn't really any super dangerous stuff. I mean, it was a family film. It wasn't, it was kind of, harkening back to the old Universal, monsters. And
Mhm.
so most of the stunts were very minor from my perspective, but there was no other choice. And I just remember thinking, I'm making money for doing this. This is, I mean, and I loved, the whole idea of being around, doing a horror film, or even a kind of, I don't want to say a horror spoof, but more,
Mhm.
a more family oriented horror film. And I just remember thinking, this is just the best. The stunts were, you know, kind of run of the mill, slips and falls and running and jumping over things, and more about just keeping the kids in school was more the priority than actually even putting stunt people in there. Most of these kids would they'd be on the set for only a number of hours. I think 4 hours was allowed as most anybody could work until they got into their teens.
Mhm.
So most of the kids, they'd say, if we can put a warm body in that spot, shave Bill, put him in. They literally did. I'm
And we're ready to
Yeah.
go.
part I'm
Yes.
part Simeon, so they would just shave me down, and then I would be there. If they were just going for a drive, they'd put me in the car instead of the kid, because they could keep the kid in school, which was a real
Mm.
priority, just to make sure that they had as normal a life as possible. But the show was fun, but I wouldn't say memorable from a yes. It's not the one you tell the chicks about when you talk about your stunt career. Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
9-year-old. Yeah, I jumped over a hedge.
I did a few
Yeah. Hey,
cartwheels.
Yeah.
hey, what all did they shave? I mean,
Pretty much, I
okay.
have to
All
defer.
right.
I need to call my attorney and my therapist.
Guessing women. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Um,
One more from Sean. Go ahead, Ben.
one more from Sean. This is to Alan. Can you tell us about your time on Batman Forever?
Batman Forever. So I got called to double Jim Carrey as the Riddler, and
Cool.
that was really cool. And it was cool working with Jim Carrey at the time, because he was just coming up the ranks, and he wasn't the superstar quite yet. I mean, he just did The Mask, and he was known, but he wasn't quite as big as he got. And so it was neat, because we would sit side by side in the makeup trailer for hours in the morning, putting on all the little masks and all the stuff that they put on our face, and then once you got dressed in this one piece lycra unitard, you couldn't help but to act like Jim, because you just felt slinky, for lack of better terms. But it was easy to get into character, and especially after watching Jim. I mean, he's so goofy and so pliable. It was a lot of fun. So there was one scene that I was doing in the Bat Cave, and he's the Riddler's going through the Bat Cave, and he's got little bombs, and he's going over this little bridge, and he's throwing them, and he's skipping around throwing these bombs in the Bat Cave. And so we're doing some tests, and I'm in my little unitard, and it's lycra with these felt covered these felt question marks all over it. And we're doing these pyro tests to see if Jim could be in there. How close can he be to these explosions and these little fire bursts? And I'm going through there, and I'm like, okay, that's a little warm. Yeah, this one's fine. And then it hit me at one point. I go, if I make a mistake, or him, and it gets too hot, it's going to melt on me, and I'm going to have scars all over my body of question marks. So
Oh my gosh. Yes.
How'd you get hurt?
So I don't know, but nothing happened. Everything was good, but that was a fun little behind the scenes portion of Batman Forever. Good question.
Yeah.
And you
that's
made a
good.
great double for him. If you see pictures on Alan's website, he's indistinguishable from him. Amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you all for joining us. We could probably talk with you for another hour, and we had some trivia we were going to do, but
Amazing.
we have to respect everyone's time and everyone's patience. But I do want to ask, what conventions do you have coming up? I know that you attend conventions and you meet the fans. Can you give a little bit of update there?
Yeah, what do you got, Alan?
Well, I look forward to meeting all the fans. I'm so excited to, just get out there and meet, you know, just like-minded people. We're so excited to be in the business, but to meet people who that are excited to see the films we do. So, I look forward to meeting more and more fans. And
Awesome. And
yeah.
how can people find you on social media? I guess that's the add-on question for both,
Well,
for all of you.
Instagram, I'm at Alan Rock Robinson. And my website's alanrobinson.com. Pretty simple.
Awesome.
I'll
Lee-
go next
go
because
ahead.
Check that out.
Lee's
Alan
schedule
Robinson.
goes on for the rest of the day. You may have to just post this in a small diary that you. I've just got a few things. I'm going to be doing something. I think this may not actually be in time for the thing that's coming up next weekend, but doing something called Atomic Monster Weekend in Mesa, Arizona. Looking forward to that. And then another show in Marietta, Georgia. Marietta, Ohio. So sorry. It's called the Marietta Monster Mash. And that's the 21st, I believe, of October, 2023. So those are the two things I've got coming up. I'm
Awesome.
beyond excited to do this stuff. Sitting and talking movies. My family's so tired of my crap that it's really nice to talk to people that are like, "Tell me more." It's like,
Yes.
so yeah,
yes.
those are my two ones that are booked now.
Oh, very exciting.
And where can we
Lee,
find
tell them
you?
yours.
Yeah, Lee, what do you have?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm at Webb's Craven, WEB,
Oh,
like
right.
Wes Craven, but with a B in there, or William R. Perry stunts.com.
Good.
Go ahead, Lee.
Yeah, I'm pretty blessed, and I got a bunch of stuff between now and the end of the year, and I'll be all over the place. So basically, I got a Midwest tour coming up, which is Chicago, Houston, Denver for August. So, and the easiest way to find out where I'm at is really just kind of go to my Instagram, because I have my link tree in there. It has my schedule. The website, originalghostface.com, has my schedule on it too. So it's really cool. And I'm with Alan on this one. It's so fun and it's such a blessing. And I get excited about it when I get to go out. And as I call them, the Scream Nation, right?
Yeah.
And even though we've done, between the three of us, we've got probably close to 300-400 films, right? Just film. That is not including TV, and we're all horror fans. I started off as a horror fan before I even got to making movies, much less stunts. So I love horror. And I was just super blessed, and right place, right time to be able to do a lot of horror and get tied in with, Tony Caesar, stunt coordinator, second year director, who in turn was Wes's right-hand man for 2 decades or whatever. So it was a super blessing to do that. And so I love coming out and meeting all the fans at all the cons, and especially when I get together with the Scream team. I get together with Skeet and Jamie and Matt and Nev and that whole core that we got to work with 30 years ago, give or take, a year. That's a lot of fun because the energy is just off the chart and the people are fantastic, and it's just super fun, super cool, super energy, and I love it. It's such a blessing, and all of us, as much fun as we have with doing that and be able to bless people and give them their stories and sign stuff, as fun as that is, I don't take it for granted, and I'm very serious about it. I will not let those fans down. I've been at cons to where we've had to, the doors are closed and there's still a line, then we're still signing. And if they kick us out of the convention center, we're going to go have a parking lot tailgate party and we'll sign in the parking lot. I will be absolutely the last man standing. If there's somebody who wants my signature, I'll get it to them. I'm not one to pack up early and go home. No way.
Yeah, the horror fans are so much more committed and passionate than any other, like sci-fi or whatever. They're just so into it that it's just contagious. You just like, wow, the nicest, kindest people, and they're so excited to meet you about something you did, back in your career before. It's just hard not to be excited about it because they're so pleased and so passionate about what they do. Just nothing like it, really. It's just great fun.
It's infectious. Lee, will you be in Massachusetts in September? Do you know
let's see,
yet?
September.
Silver Scream?
It's not on my calendar right now, so.
Okay, okay.
Call your
just-
friends. Call your
if-
local politician.
I will
Get
be
Lee in
there, so it would be nice to meet you in person. If we,
Well,
if
I am
you're,
gonna be East Coast, but it'll be later. What are you doing? I'm doing Monster Mania up there
Okay.
in,
I think that's in New Jersey, or
November.
Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
yeah, Pennsylvania,
yeah.
it's still
Yep.
Philadelphia. So I'll be up there in November, and I'm gonna be down in, was it Hampton or Hampton? I think it's Hampton,
Hampton.
Virginia at,
Okay.
Haunted Screams Expo, and that's in September or October. I can't remember. So
Okay, cool. Well, maybe we'll get to meet in person one day. All of you, it'd be really nice to meet all of you in person.
Yeah.
I'm in Massachusetts, so that's why I was asking. Well, this has been amazing talking with all of you. We've got to do a part 2. We would love to have you on again. Maybe we
would be
could do
great.
a Christmas horror special. Ben, do you want to close it
how
out?
about a Halloween special?
Or Halloween special? Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I see the tie in there.
Let's
Yeah.
do that.
yeah.
Definitely.
That'd be-
Brilliant.
He's a marketing genius, that Waddell, I tell you.
I tell you.
Hey,
guys,
Nicely done.
thank you so much for having us.
Yeah,
It's
thanks,
fun
guys. It's
to
been
talk
so
to
much
you
fun.
guys, and
Awesome.
I love as I do more and more of these podcasts, I really like when your viewers and give those questions, because it's really, that's a fan connection, right? So to speak.
Yeah.
I
Mhm,
love
mhm.
answering those, and it's
Yeah.
really fun to see Alan
Yeah.
and Bill again, because even though we're longtime friends, we don't cross paths, at least on a podcast like this, very often. We might talk
Oh,
to each other,
good.
but very seldom we get together and reminisce like we just did with you guys. So super fun. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much. For
Very
having us.
cool. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
welcome.
Yeah,
We
Aaron,
had a blast. Yes.
Aaron and Ben, thank you so much. You guys are real pros, and it was a pleasure.
Oh,
Absolutely.
thank you.
Thank you, guys. Ben, do you want to do the closing?
Good. I just want to say again, thank you to all 3 of you. I could have sat and listened to you. Well, could just carry on now actually, but no, thank you to all 3 of you. And what am I doing? Oh, I'm shutting us down, aren't I? So if you want to over to Instagram and find us over there, we're under A&B Horror Movies. And obviously, if you're here, you've come across the YouTube channel and
Click
subscribe.
that subscribe button. Click that subscribe button. Do it right now.
Exactly.
Don't make us come out and get you. We know where you are.
Ooh.
Got a lot of murdery people on screen right now.
That's
And
right.
we might
hit
use that.
button right now.
We're keeping this. This is playing at every end of
All right. Amazing, guys. This has been great. Great.
All right.
Bye,
Peace,
everyone.
everybody. We love you.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Take care.